Tragedies occur every single day around the world, and it's an unfortunate truth. Car accidents and strokes and infection and war. Millions of people have their entire life torn away from them in an instant. Now, for some that can be emotional or psychological damage, and for others it can quite literally be their physical body being taken from them. Now, I want you to humor me for just a second and close your eyes. And imagine everything you've done today up to this moment. Did you use your hands a lot? Did you use your feet and your legs a lot? Maybe you walked here. Now imagine losing your right hand to a car accident, or losing your left leg right below the knee to an infection. While emotional damage is extremely difficult to repair, and it still is, we have finally come to a point in human history where we can begin to fix massive physical trauma done to an individual by use of advanced prosthetics and robotic exoskeletons. Now, scientists believe that the earliest use of wooden pegs and other materials as replacement limbs started all the way back in 1500 BC. And we've come a long way from wooden pegs. But still, even just a couple decades ago, it was crazy to think that a man who was missing his leg could go into a weight room and put 500 pounds on his back and squat it. Yet there's people out there who are living proof that humans will always continue to move forward. Now, I don't think anyone in here would call that man disabled. In fact, he has regained functionality to a point where he can perform athletic feats that are just as impressive as anyone with their natural limbs could accomplish. So one of the first major advancements in prosthetics was the use of silicone elastomers to line the socket, which dispersed weight and pressure much more evenly. And obviously this was a lot more helpful to lower limb amputees, but it made prosthetics in general a lot more comfortable and easy to wear. But as time went on, people wanted to regain not only day-to-day functionality, but they wanted to compete in athletics again. And so scientists created the carbon fiber spring prosthetic, which you can see worn today in the Paralympics. And now the technology is constantly improving with things like brain-computer interfaces, which allow the prosthetic to be controlled with nothing but neurological connections. If we are aiming for a truly complete reintegration of the patient back into their normal life, it's absolutely crucial that we make their prosthetic just as natural and just as functional as it was before. There are three types of technology that we can use to read your mind. And the first is the electroencephalograph, which small sticky electrodes are taken and they're placed on your scalp to read your brainwaves. And I guarantee you've seen these in movies. But the second one, electrocorticography, you probably haven't seen in movies. Electrodes are taken and placed directly on the outside of the brain into the cortical tissue. And the last is multi-electrode arrays, in which a set of spikes is implanted directly into your brain tissue. And I promise that sounds a lot scarier than it actually is. As you can imagine, the more invasive technology, like the electrode arrays, is a lot more powerful in terms of reading neurological activity. The issue with these is biocompatibility. It's crucial that we make a technology that has a very long lifespan and doesn't damage any of your brain tissue. Looking past these limitations, however, there is limitless potential. And implementation of one of these interfaces into rhesus monkeys yielded awesome results. And you can see a monkey using one of these brain-computer interfaces control a robotic prosthetic arm and reach and grasp different objects without moving itself and only using its mind. So this technology is clearly very powerful. But it also applies to a concept that is arguably more prominent in pop culture today, and that's the robotic exoskeleton. Now, a lot of exoskeleton technology has actually been developed in a medical setting, particularly for stroke rehabilitation. And they're powerful because you can use them to apply forces to a joint that is otherwise unusable, regardless of whether or not the Ware is trying to. And there's three main kinds of exoskeleton used for upper body stroke rehabilitation: whole arm movement, fine arm movement, and movement shaping. So as this technology rapidly gains traction in medical settings, it is continuing to be a major component of pop culture and futurology. And eventually, we will come to a point in these technologies where we'll build something so precise and so cost effective that it will be able to be sold to the general public. And when that happens, it'll raise a big question. And that's a question of how it should be used. Because this technology is being developed for medical uses, for amputees, and for paraplegics and quadriplegics, and perhaps eventually those with locked-in syndrome. But it's still been a staple of science fiction for decades now. Really, you can't turn on the television for 5 minutes without seeing Iron Man, or seeing Terminator, or seeing Luke Skywalker's robotic hand. However, thinking like this can have some serious implications, both good and bad. I think that in the near future, we will actually see things like this become a lot more widespread. Now, that doesn't look too bad to me. This looks like it could definitely help. This is a dock worker in Korea, and that exoskeleton can lift about 60 to 70 pounds with pretty minimal effort on the worker's part. But you have to consider, what about when this is slapped onto a soldier? If we've learned anything from the last century, it's that technological advances like these can and will be used to produce widespread destruction. There needs to be a system of checks to keep it that way. And the leaders of the world, the politicians, and the scientists, they need to recognize the imminent threat that this could potentially pose. Now, I think I've been clear on my personal support for the development of this technology. But an international governing body of some sort needs to address this issue while it's still young, so that we can continue to use this as a medical device to help those who really need it. And if we can do that, I truly believe that this kind of technology could be one of the crowning achievements of 21st century medicine. It's our choice as to how this technology progresses. Humankind will always continue to put one foot in front of the other, whether that foot is made of wood or steel or it's robotic. We'll always continue to move forward. Thank you.